Why does a good God allow suffering? If God is truly good, why is there so much suffering in the world? Why do people experience pain, loss, sickness, betrayal, and tragedy? Scripture shows us that suffering is not meaningless, random, or outside of God's control. Even in pain, God is working with purpose. Here are 4 biblical reasons suffering exists. First, suffering often follows sin and spiritual brokenness. Sin separates humanity from God and opens the door to destruction. The Bible repeatedly shows that rebellion against God carries consequences. When Abimelech murdered his 70 brothers, God allowed an evil spirit to bring judgment upon his house. Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed because of deep wickedness and corruption. Judah was carried into Babylonian captivity because they turned away from God. God is not the author of sin, but he will not remove the consequences of it. What people sow, they eventually reap. Second, suffering can become a correction that brings us back to God. Sometimes pain becomes the very thing that awakens us spiritually. King David once trusted in military strength instead of trusting in God. Satan provoked him to number Israel, yet God permitted it in order to humble him and bring the nation back to dependence on the Lord. The suffering that followed became a wake-up call, and often that's how God works in our lives. What we call interruption, God may call correction. What we call pain, God may use for restoration. Third, suffering teaches us dependence on God. Human nature pushes us towards self-reliance. We trust our own wisdom, our own strength, and our own control. But suffering exposes how fragile we truly are. Trials strip away pride and force us to lean on God completely. That's why Paul wrote, "My strength is made perfect in weakness." Sometimes God allows weakness so we stop depending on ourselves and start depending fully on Him. Because real faith is born in surrender. Fourth, suffering can reveal God's glory and deepen our faith. The clearest example is Job. Job lost his possessions, his health, and his children, not because he was living in sin, but because his faith was being tested. Through the fire of suffering, Job came to know God more deeply than ever before. At the end of the story, Job declared, "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you." Pain changed him. Suffering refined him. And through it all, God was glorified. Here's the bottom line. God does not waste pain. He uses suffering to confront sin, correct His people, break self-reliance, strengthen faith, and draw us closer to Him. The purpose is not destruction. The purpose is transformation. And even when we do not understand the reason for our suffering, we can trust the character of the God who will